So we're out here tonight because I'm weird like that, and basically there's cars occasionally stopping by to see what I'm doing, which is fine. We're almost Halloween. In a few days I'm going to be moving for the 5th time in 2 years, which feels really fucking good. I'm happy, but I don't want today's video to be all about me. I know there's a few people close to me lately who've been going through a hard time, and honestly, Toronto has taught me a lot. So basically tonight I'm going to share with you 6 things plus 1 extra thing that Toronto has taught me. By self-worth, a lot of people in today's society, they associate themselves based on how they dress, how much money they have, where they work. But really your self-worth has to do with how you are as a person. Does it have to do with the fact, like, do you tip the waiter? Do you have compassion? Do you listen to people before speaking, or do you just listen for answering? Basically your self-worth has to do with anything you have to offer as a person. It has nothing to do with the external factors, it's nothing superficial, it has to do with you. And so basically recognize your self-worth if you're the type of person who makes your choices based on things that truly make you happy, not based just on expectations from friends and family. And for example, right now, if you're the type of person who's in a really cushy job and you're making just enough money to provide for yourself, but you find that you wake up every single day and still have the same routine and you begin to feel kind of like a robot, you don't really feel challenged anymore, then one way you can recognize your self-worth is by finding a position that would be right for you. Finding something a little bit more challenging, because people in general are more challenge-driven. Okay, this whole idea that you're just another number, and as long as you're making enough money to support yourself, that's the only thing that should matter, is really just an idea that was created. And whenever we're not challenged, we often find ourselves in depression because we begin to lack motivation. We feel uninspired. We feel like we're not good for anything. So alright, so the second lesson that Toronto has taught me, and this is probably a really big one, is the difference between hard work and struggle. Now basically struggle, we're not going to look in the dictionary, but the way that I would define it is struggle tends to be something more internal, something more self-inflicted. Now it doesn't mean that if you're going through a struggle in your life that it's your fault. But in general, when we're faced with certain difficulties, we have a hard time seeing the woods from the trees. Like recently I went through a really hard time myself, and I started really just remaining fixated on that one issue. Remaining fixated on the fact that my roommate was about to be evicted because he hadn't been paying rent. And because of that, I had a hard time focusing on other aspects of my life. But then as soon as I just pulled away the focus, like you do with a camera, like you zoom in, you focus on just one thing, but then you zoom back and you focus on the bigger picture. That's when I saw that there's actually things in my life that are going really well. Like during this tough time, I began reconnecting with old friends, with family members. Whereas hard work has to do with the type of effort that you make in order to make something function, in order to make something move forward. It's basically where you put in effort into something that you know will bring you progress. Now, hard work might sometimes seem like struggle. Like, let's say if you're somebody who's in computer engineering and right now you're busy coding a computer program or a software that you know might benefit the public, you're probably spending all kinds of nights staying up late working on this project. So because of that, there is a lot of struggle to keep up the motivation. But if at the end of the day you focus on that goal and you remember why the hard work was worth it, then it's not actually going to feel like hard work in the first place. So if somebody asks you about a certain aspect of your life, don't be afraid of just admitting what happened. Because I myself, this time last year, actually a few months before, I would say in summer of 2015, it was my first time living on my own. It was really harder than expected. I was excited to live on my own, but I didn't think it would be that difficult to become an adult. And so what happened is that about 2 weeks after I moved into this place, I actually lost my job. And so what happened is that I was unemployed for, I would say, about 4 months. And the beginning of the summer started off well because I did have money aside in terms of rent and groceries. But eventually it got to the point where like the fridge was really low and I had to go to food banks. And it was just a really horrible and dark time for me. And my way of coping with that is I started exercising. I became more active because I started getting a lot of panic attacks. And in terms of panic attacks, for anybody else who's dealt with anxiety issues, what happens is that the cortisol levels go up, and one way to keep the cortisol levels balanced to reduce your panic attacks is by eating regularly. But obviously, because I didn't have a lot of money, I wasn't able to eat as much as necessary, so it made the time really more difficult. But then finally, by the month of September, just out of nowhere, I had got hired for a job. I found myself another place, and even though it's a time in my life I would never go back to, I don't regret making that decision of just moving on my own, because I learned a lot during that time. Narrowing your focus means that, and this is for somebody who's really goal-oriented, my advice, if you're starting out any type of career, anything that involves too much partying, too much getting mixed up with the wrong crowd, I would advise trying to stay away from that. Because if you have a really big goal in mind, whether you plan on becoming a musician or a filmmaker, or you plan on opening up your own restaurant, you have to surround yourself with people who support you. Because if you don't narrow your focus, you're going to be surrounding yourself with people who will be distractions to you, who may try to deter you from your goals by saying that you won't make it, when really that's just a projection of their own failures. And the fact is that a lot of people who haven't succeeded as their goals, they will try to pull you away from your own. So you need as much as possible to narrow your focus by being surrounded by only people who support you. And of course, if the people who don't support you, they happen to be family, it's going to be that much difficult. So if you're old enough, then I would advise to find a way to limit contact with those kinds of people. If you look at Al Pacino, the way he started out as an actor, after his mom and his grandparents passed away because he was basically homeless, he used to sleep inside the theater venues where he would perform because that was the only place he had to live. But he was just so focused on his goal that he didn't even care. And then you look at Nicky Sixx, on the other hand, from the band Motley Crue. I wouldn't recommend a musician out there to do this, but he actually sold a stolen guitar in order to buy his first bass. And during this time he was working all kinds of odd jobs. He was very poor. He basically raised himself because he didn't get along with his family, except for his grandparents who did take care of him until he was about 16. Obviously, like, the majority of us will never become billionaires like them, but if you have a certain goal in mind, it's really, really crucial to stay in focus, because there are people who will come into your life to try and test you to see how badly you really want to make it. Now, I'm not telling anyone out there who's currently working a job that you might not like to just go over to your boss and quit. Because if you're one of the lucky few people who even has a job right now, then you should have gratitude. But with that being said, if you have a bigger goal in mind, that's the path you need to take. Okay, even if there's not a guarantee that you'll succeed, there's always the risk that you'll fail. But personally, as somebody like myself who plans on becoming a film director, I would rather fail doing what I love than succeed at what I hate just for the sake of making money. Okay, so basically, if you have a regular job right now but you have a bigger goal in mind, I would advise taking whatever spare time you have, even if just during your break, during your lunch hour, on weekends, at night, researching online, networking with people, connecting again with people who will support you, and taking the steps necessary to actually go in the direction you want to go. Which actually sounds kind of cheesy, but when I say let people love you, I'm not exactly saying in the romantic sense. I am, however, saying in terms of allowing people to show you affection, to show how you matter to them. And when I'm talking about love, obviously when I'm not talking about romance, I'm not talking about being loved by social media either. I'm talking about the people who are in your immediate circle. It doesn't have to be family, it can be friends, it could be a partner, anybody that you're close to. Do not shut them off from showing how you matter to them. Whether it's through compliments, through allowing them to do favors for you, reach out to them if you're going through a hard time at the moment, anything. I know that a lot of us, out of pride when we're going through a challenge, have a tendency of becoming closed off. As much as we like helping others, when it comes to ourselves, we just rather do everything on our own. But really, one thing that I've learned moving to Toronto and only living here for 3 months is that things are a lot easier when you allow people to help you. When somebody's being genuine and they say that they want to take care of you, it's very important to not push that person away. So for the last one of the night, we are almost Halloween, which is like one of my favorite times of year. Basically, the last one is that life can be a fairy tale. Okay, life in itself, it might not be perfect. You might meet a guy, but he's not going to be a Prince Charming. But despite what society says, whatever kind of life you dream of for yourself, it is possible. Alright, I'm living proof of that. Through experiences, oftentimes we'll meet people and it's like we've known them our entire life. So that's another way that life can be a fairy tale. I chose to just let go of having control over everything. You have to realize that if you have a certain vision in your mind, the only way that it can truly happen is if you just allow yourself to enjoy the ride and trust that the direction you're going to be guided in is the direction for you. And if you learn to just follow your inner voice, follow your guides, listen to whatever monsters come out during Halloween and during this time of year, you'll find that you'll be guided in the direction that you want to go into. But the only way that you can get there is if you trust that it will happen. And it will. Thank you.